While it has other amino acids within collagen, it's incomplete because it doesn't have tryptophan. But you can combine collagen with another food product that contains tryptophan and create a complete protein. Hello and welcome to the Eat More Carbs podcast. My name is Jenna Fisher and I'm here with my co-host Reilly Beatty. Today, we're going to be talking all about collagen. We had a ton of questions about collagen, so we figured we would do an entire podcast episode answering some of those questions and talking a little bit about collagen, whether or not we recommend it, and things like that. Before we get into some of the collagen discussion, we're going to do our high and low segment where we just chat about our week, the good and maybe the not so good. So Reilly, as always, can you kick us off?
My high this week is NC State basketball. I know this episode is going out after the Final Four, but the fact that both our men's and our women's basketball team have made it to the Final Four is amazing. It's been so fun to watch, and we often joke that Charlie is our lucky charm, so now she has to go to NC State. So that is my high.
Do you want to come to Phoenix to watch at least the men's Final Four?
You know how many times I thought about texting you?
Please come. It would be so fun. I would be all in. I got my gear already, so let's go.
I know. It was like, you have to go and you have to wear your NC State stuff. I guess low, not really low, but we have 11-week-old. So we're not able to go to the Final Four, but I mean, that's a low, I think. I can deal with that. But
Sure.
I feel like she might be a lucky charm a little bit.
Oh, it feels that way for sure. Both the men's and women's team in the Final Four. Come on. It's got to be Charlie.
My sister, I remember joking with her like a couple weeks ago, but she picked NC State to win her bracket, like kind of as a joke. And like now her bracket's like doing really, really good.
I will share my high and low for the week. My high is that this past weekend, my husband and I went out to Los Angeles to run a 10K. For me, a 10K race is just like super fun. It's a great distance. It's a fast run, but not so quick that it goes by like a 5K. So I really love the 10K distance. So it was just really fun to get out to Los Angeles to do that. I got to see one of my really good friends from like childhood, and she ran it with us. Overall, just a really good time. My low, and this is kind of a story. In 2018, Reilly and I went out to Los Angeles during our dietetic internship. We had a very random long weekend, and we took advantage of it because Reilly lived in Los Angeles at the time. And of course, we're in the internship, so we had to be very strategic about what we were spending our money on. And we had picked that every day we got to have like one treat, quote unquote, something like that. That was like what we were choosing to spend our money on was, of all things, I know this is shocking, food. One day we go down to Laguna Beach and we had these coconut smoothies that I have thought about, I don't know, maybe every day since then. And I was so excited to go back to Los Angeles because I knew I was going to be in Laguna Beach and get this specific smoothie again, to the point where I was like texting Reilly and like, this is it. This is what I'm getting. Like, this is the order, like all that while I'm there. On Saturday, the day of the race, we're driving down to Laguna and my husband Nolan's like, do you want to stop now to get it? And I was like, I'm not really hungry. I want to enjoy it. And he's like, no problem. We'll just come back tomorrow. It'll be no big deal. We'll grab it on the way out of town. And I was like, great idea. Of course, Sunday morning, I pull up my phone and I'm like, okay, how far away are we from this? Like, where do we need to go? And on my map, it says it's closed. And I was like, oh, it must be because it's like Sunday morning. Maybe they open a little bit late or something like that. It had not occurred to me that Sunday was Easter Sunday. And not only was this place closed, but everywhere was closed. Like there was nothing open. And we hadn't thought of that at all. So I didn't get the smoothie that I have been thinking about since 2018 because I did not look at a calendar and realize that the Sunday we were there was Easter Sunday, which makes sense now as to why we ran the race on Saturday instead of Sunday, because Sunday was Easter Sunday. So that's my low.
My heart hurts because I don't think people realize that Jenna and I talk about the smoothie at least once a week, and it's been 5 years.
Like I was sitting in our hotel room, like on the verge of tears over a smoothie.
Well, I was waiting because we were like texting a little bit about it, and I was waiting to get a picture of the smoothie, and it didn't happen. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? This is so, so sad.
I know. And it was totally on me for poor planning. But my sweet husband felt so bad. He was like, we'll come back. Like, it won't be 5 years. And I was like, we're not going to road trip to California for a smoothie. And he's like, if it's as good as you and Reilly say it is, we might just have to. So that's my low for the week, is I missed out on my sweet treat.
Okay, I actually have another like interesting story about this smoothie. When I went out to California last August and I was pregnant, I hunted out the smoothie. I went to a different location than when you and I went, but I went to get the smoothie. And I like Ubered there. I was like, it is so good. This is not sponsored. After I drank it, was the first time I felt Charlie kick.
That was the end to my really fun rainy weekend in Los Angeles, was that I missed out on the coconut smoothie.
That's actually a really great segue, because today we're talking about collagen, and that is a protein powder, and a lot of people use protein powder in their smoothie. But before we dive into collagen, what is collagen?
Such a great question. Collagen is a protein that's found in our body. It's actually one of the ones that we think of as like being associated with our skin, maybe our bones, our cartilage. Those are made of collagen. Collagen is also in the foods that we consume. It can be in protein powder form, but it can also be in the foods that we like eat. It's actually an incomplete protein. So for someone who doesn't know what an incomplete protein is, can you establish what a complete and what an incomplete protein is?
Yes. We'll start off with the basics, right? So collagen is, like Jen just mentioned, it is a protein structure that is found in our body, and it's also found in food. It is an incomplete protein. And when we look at an incomplete protein, it is a protein that does not contain all 9 essential amino acids. So when we look at the total amino acids that protein contains, we have 20 amino acids. Amino acids are like the building blocks of protein, and a protein source that contains all 9 essential amino acids is going to be something called a complete protein. So when we look at protein, if we take a couple steps back, we have, again, 20 amino acids. 9 of those are essential, and 11 of those are called non-essential. If a amino acid is considered essential or called essential, we have to get it through an outside source. Our body cannot create enough of those to function efficiently and be optimized. So we have to get 9 of these amino acids through an outside source, through foods, and sources that contain all 9 of those amino acids in a single product are considered a complete protein. An incomplete protein is going to be a food source that does not contain all 9 essential amino acids, but it contains a couple of them.
The amino acid that collagen is missing is tryptophan. So while it has other amino acids within collagen, it's incomplete because it doesn't have tryptophan. But you can combine collagen with another food product that contains tryptophan and create a complete protein.
And I think the fact that collagen is an incomplete protein is very confusing to a lot of people, because general rule of thumb is if it is an animal product, it is going to be a complete protein. So most of our animal products, our eggs, our meats, our seafoods, our dairy, are going to be complete proteins where they contain all 9 essential amino acids. But collagen does come from like bovine, it does come from an animal source, but it is not a complete protein. And I think that's where there's a lot of confusion. So when we look at collagen, it's an incomplete protein, similar to a lot of the plant protein products that are available.
One of the other things that can be a little bit confusing about incomplete proteins and things like that is that the whole component doesn't move into our body, right? It's broken down, and all of the individual amino acids are essentially moved into our body. And from there, our body can rebuild them into whatever it's needed in order to be used throughout the body. If you have a collagen supplement or a collagen containing food, collagen isn't moved into the body in its form of collagen. It's broken down first, and then it's either rebuilt into maybe collagen or potentially another structure that those amino acids are needed for, and our body can use them elsewhere. You talk a lot about the amino acid pool, and like such a great like way to explain the utilization of amino acids within the body, because I think of it as like once all these amino acids are broken down, and they're just moved into a space kind of held there in a pool, in a queue, in a waiting system until our body says, okay, I need this, this, and this to build whatever structure I'm building. And these are the amino acids I need in order to do that. So we can contribute to that pool of amino acids through things like collagen or collagen containing foods.
Exactly. It's just like the idea that like if you eat fat, it's not like immediately converted into fat. It has to be like digested and circulated. And then just like you said, like it's all held right in that amino acid pool. And then when we look at, you know, what's happening in our body, it's pulling from that amino acid pool. And then what we like to say is like that rate limiting amino acid sometimes is in a food, but it can also be in the pool where the function that is supposed to be happening in the body is stopped because that amino acid is not available.
in collagen, the amino acid that we're not getting from a collagen protein powder or something like that is tryptophan. And tryptophan is an amino acid that is necessary for the production of proteins and enzymes and neurotransmitters throughout the body, which is why it's considered essential. So that's kind of the role of the amino acid that collagen doesn't have.
So Jenna, you talked about tryptophan and you talked about how that is the missing amino acid when we look at making collagen a complete protein, right? So we look at collagen, it's missing tryptophan. It has minimal amounts of some of the other amino acids, so it's not great for stimulating muscle protein synthesis. But one of the questions that I get all the time, I'm sure that you hear this too, and I'm going to ask you it because I get it all the time in my DMs, is does that mean that collagen counts as a protein?
Yes. Collagen counts as a protein. Although it doesn't contain all of the essential amino acids, it still contains amino acids. So you're still getting benefit from using it. And if you are hoping to make it into a complete protein because you want all of the essential amino acids, you can always pair it together with something that's higher in some of the amino acids that it might be lower in.
An easy way to think about it is if you were thinking about like just a plant-based source of protein, like a food product, right? Like it's like, I mean, I feel like the one that we hear about all the time is like rice and beans. Like they're complementary proteins because the rice and the beans together contain all 9 essential amino acids. And I think what's happened is we've just made it really confusing because we have a protein powder that is not a complete protein. So it's not a great protein source for like muscle protein synthesis because it doesn't have all 9 essential amino acids, but that doesn't mean that it's not contributing to that amino acid pool.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the big thing too is that even when we're thinking about rice and beans being complementary, as long as we're consuming a well-rounded protein intake that contains some of the other amino acids that maybe we're not getting from things like collagen.
And that just reiterates the importance of having a variety in the diet because we need to have all these different types of proteins to have different amounts of these amino acids because again, even if something contains all 9 essential amino acids, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be a quality source of protein, right? Because when we look at rice and beans, yes, rice and beans together make a complementary protein, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's a great quality source of protein when you look at other protein options that are available. So there's the completeness of a protein, but then there's also the quality of a protein as well.
Where do you put collagen as far as quality protein?
Personally, I would say it's probably lower. And when I'm utilizing protein with an athlete or recommending collagen, I don't know if I'm recommending it for like the muscle protein synthesis function of it. And I wouldn't recommend it after a training session, but it is a great way to add just, amino acids into a meal if you are a little bit low on protein, especially like before training. I love doing it maybe in the morning before a training session to help boost protein in a meal. And then also to help with that joint tendon ligament health, which I know that we're going to talk about a little bit later. I personally don't see it as a great quality source of protein for an after training, which a lot of people recommend, protein powders for after training. I recommend it usually for a different function besides the muscle protein synthesis.
Different foods, again, can serve different purposes, and having it before training, maybe versus after training, is a better way to utilize a collagen supplement versus something that is a complete protein. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That makes total sense. I guess one of the pros of collagen that in comparison to maybe some of the other protein powders and supplements out there is that it's oftentimes like unflavored. So it's really easy to incorporate in a meal in a different way. I feel like a lot of times you see whey and casein powders that are like vanilla or chocolate or something like that. This is really easy to mix into other types of food. So what do you often work with athletes as far as like helping them take collagen and maybe something that like feels really easy before a workout or something like that?
So I know this was not what you were asking, but I actually have a really interesting story about collagen because I used it a lot in the first trimester because I was really hard for me to eat protein, and protein is one of the things that you should focus on to prevent morning sickness, or in my case, all day sickness. I actually added a lot of collagen to instant ramen, chicken noodle soup, and soups and things like that because it was unflavored and those don't usually have a lot of protein. So I really like adding it to like that type of stuff, like soups and broths and things like that. When we look at an athlete pre-workout, again, I love it because it is unflavored. So adding it to something like an overnight oats, post-workout, adding it to avocado toast because you can mix it with avocado and you can't taste it. It works really well again in smoothies. What are some of your favorite ways to add collagen?
I feel like a broken record, but I'm going to say it anyway, but adding it to applesauce. I love applesauce, and that's an easy one that I do a lot of times before a workout. And if I want to add a little bit of protein to it, collagen mixed into an applesauce is an easy way for me to do it without it being too aggressive on the flavor or hard on my stomach.
I love that. I actually have never even thought about that, but I love that. I think it goes back to like something that we always talk about, like on this podcast and with all of our athletes and clients, is like the why, right? So when we're looking at collagen, why we're adding it in, we're not adding it in for optimizing muscle protein synthesis by itself after training. We're adding it in throughout the day to kind of help supplement protein intake and then helping with that like tendon and ligament health, which we're going to get into. And that's where I recommend collagen. And that's why nutrition is so individualized. And we take it a step further when you work one-on-one, because when you go on the internet and you're like, oh, collagen is an incomplete protein. And it's like, okay, yes, it is, but there is a function for it in somebody's fueling foundation.
Can you talk a little bit about the benefits of collagen for joint health and things like that? Because when I am targeted by ads online for collagen, most of the time it's for like hair, skin, and nails. But from the joint health side of things, what does that look like? Why are we recommending it?
Yeah. So there seems to be an overwhelming amount of research done with collagen as a prehab, possibly rehab, just a supportive supplement for tendon and ligament health because of the collagen synthesis that is happening at that location in the body. Yes, skin, nails, hair, there is some research that maybe supports it. I mean, collagen is in all of those areas. So extra credit, maybe, like we're never going to be mad that's going to help our hair and our skin and our nails. But when we work with athletes, we really focus on it as a supplement for that joint health, that tendon and the ligament. And there is overwhelming evidence that collagen supplement on a consistent basis paired with vitamin C can help prevention, especially again at those soft tissues.
I'm glad you mentioned the paired with vitamin C. And the reason for that, as far as my understanding goes, is that reformation of collagen on the other side from that amino acid pool is done so more efficiently in the presence of vitamin C. So even like taking your collagen with an orange juice or something like that can help with that reformation to then be utilized in the body as collagen to help with that ligament and joint health.
Yes, and that vitamin C plays such a vital piece because a couple of years ago they were doing research where they were, pairing vitamin C with collagen, but they were actually heating the collagen to help it, absorb a little bit better. And because vitamin C is not heat stable, it was denaturing the vitamin C and therefore the collagen wasn't giving a positive result. And it's because the vitamin C was no longer active. So that, partnership between the vitamin C and the collagen was not available.
That's so interesting.
You could put your collagen into a hot beverage because, again, this might be old news, but I still feel like people are doing this. You could be putting collagen into a hot coffee, right? Like that's going to be something that easily blends together. Collagen, creatine, those products are going to blend so much better into a hot beverage. But if your collagen has a vitamin C in it, you put it into a hot beverage, you denature the vitamin C, the collagen is not going to do its purpose. Having vitamin C on the side, putting your collagen into a vitamin C, or choosing a product that has vitamin C that you're not going to heat is something to make sure that you're considering.
So it would be totally fine if my collagen supplement didn't have vitamin C in it and I mixed it into my coffee and then I had an orange with my breakfast.
Perfect.
Easy ways to go around making sure that we're getting in the nutrients that pair well together to help with the absorption, to help with the utilization once it's inside the body. What are maybe some things that we need to know about using collagen as a supplement as far as from like this safety concern? Because one of the things that we talk about often is like third-party testing of supplements. So what does that look like? Is that different for an athlete who's maybe interested in taking collagen?
Same thing applies here. Collagen is super, super trendy. There's lots of people on the internet that are going to be selling it personally. They're going to have brand deals. And again, right, we do support collagen if you are doing it the right way and obviously on a very individualized basis, but you have to be really careful with supplements. And we talk about this all the time, but supplements are really, really poorly regulated. And if you don't have third-party testing, you cannot guarantee, at least from a quality analysis standpoint, and then also from like a anti-doping standpoint, you can't guarantee that your product's not going to be contaminated.
So always looking for that third-party label. Can you remind us what those ones are that we should be looking for?
Yeah, so 3 really popular ones are going to be Informed Sport and then Informed Choice. Same company, just a little bit of different testing regulations. And then with the other main one that we see a lot on the market is the NSF Sport, so Certified for Sport, which is very similar to that Informed Sport testing. It really depends on the governing body for the sport that you compete in, what level of athlete you are, and what you're looking for with safety precautions when it comes to a supplement. But no matter what level athlete you are, I know that we both recommend having some type of third-party testing, just quality analysis, quality assurance on your supplement.
Which is why Reilly and I do recommend that when working with a dietitian, whether that be ourselves or another dietitian, that you mention or talk with them about the supplements that you're using, especially if you are an athlete or involved in sport, because we want to make sure that it is safe for you to continue to take those supplements that you are taking. It's also the reason why in the coming months, Reilly and I are going to be rolling out a supplement review protocol for individuals to come to us and talk specifically about the supplements they're taking and review them for safety for their sport. Since we know there's such a high need for this, it's not really widely known what's considered safe. All of the athletes and the clients that we work with to make sure that you know exactly what you're taking from a supplement standpoint and if it's safe for you and your sport.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because we actually had this exact situation happen today with one of our athletes who submitted their supplement protocol in our one-on-one coaching program. She had submitted the protein powder that she was taking, and she felt like it was safe because the website was really nice, it was really clean, the product was expensive. So you think, okay, a product's expensive, we have tie high quality to it. And then also on like the review board, there was a dietitian that sat on the review board, but there was no quality analysis information that was available for the supplement. The website looked really, really good. But
yeah, extremely aesthetic website.
Yeah, so good. But there was no way to know if that supplement was safe and then that the quality is actually there.
Yeah. So even in situations where a dietitian or a medical professional is sitting on the advisory board for a certain company, doesn't mean that that's necessarily a safe product to be taking.
And to kind of round this out, right, we are talking about collagen products and supplements today, but at RBSN, we are food first. So if somebody is interested in increasing their collagen consumption, what are some foods that maybe can help with collagen production or maybe rich in the amino acids that collagen contains that they could get through their diet?
Ooh, I'm going to say fish. And the reason for that is I'm currently trying to increase my own intake of fish. Fish is not something that I really love to cook, so I'm working on that, but fish has proline in it. Collagen is rich in proline. So that's going to be my go-to for something that you could utilize as a food source of something that's rich in proline. Collagen is a great thing to consume if you're looking to increase your total protein intake. It's also something that we recommend with athletes as far as from a joint and ligament perspective. We don't really know so much about the research, whether it helps with hair, skin, and nails, but it might be some extra credit there. If you have questions for Reilly and I about collagen or any other supplement, please reach out to us. You can find us on Instagram at the Eat More Carbs Podcast, or you can leave your questions below the show notes. You can also find us individually on Instagram. I'm at jenna.fisher.nutrition, and you can find Reilly at reilly.beatty.nutrition. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Eat More Carbs podcast. Please make sure that you rate, subscribe, and review. And as always, remember to eat more carbs.